So this isn't an Oscar special. So last week the Oscars were announced. So we're going to talk through category by category of what we've seen. Disclaimer first: I have not seen every film, and
And
Bradley's
I've
seen.
seen even less than you.
Yeah, he's seen
But
even
we've seen,
less.
we've seen a good variety, I think. There are films that I've seen that you haven't, and vice versa. So hopefully we'll have a good knowledge between us.
We'll start off with the first category. We'll start nice and big. Best Director. So the nominations: Wes Anderson for The Grand Budapest Hotel, Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, is that how you say it?
That's good enough for me.
with Birdman, Richard Linklater with Boyhood, Bennett Miller with Foxcatcher, and Morton Tilden with The Imitation Game. but before I start, like, there's going to be so many mispronunciations. I can't even say mispronunciations.
No, I wouldn't worry about it. Did you see the woman who's actually announcing the nominations?
Yeah, was it a fart poop or something she said?
Yeah, what was it? Dick someone, and she said Dick poop. I know it's just a little bit awkward for everyone involved, but anyway, this hopefully not screw up as much as she did.
So who are you thinking out of these five at the moment?
Out of these five, I mean, I think it's a strong year for the best director category. I mean, I think it's probably going to be one of the closest we've had in years. Normally, it's between one or two, and saying that it probably is again this year. There are a couple of favourites in there, but I think every one of these five directors have all had a great year. My choice would be Wes Anderson, or in fact, Wes Anderson would be my choice out of all five of them, just because I think he managed to do something spectacular in doing something that was basically an art installation or an art piece and make it accessible to the general public. I think that's hard to do, and I think as a director, he should take credit for that.
Well, he's very unique as a director because he's one of the ones. Well, like, if you see a trailer for a film without saying who it is, you can guess if it's a Wes Anderson film if it is very easily.
And that's what surprised me about the Grand Budapest Hotel, actually, because I've never been a particularly massive Wes Anderson fan. In fact, most of his films I can't really get on with. But I think that's perhaps why I enjoyed the film so much, and why I'd pick him as my personal choice for best director, just because he managed to bring something that was unique and different and made it enjoyable for me.
And personally, like, the Grand Budapest Hotel was the one that shocked me for getting so many nominations throughout.
Yeah.
I really don't think that was in everyone's mind, like, leading up to the nominations, that he would be there. So it's quite nice.
I think it certainly had a bigger impact than what people thought. It deserves its place there.
And my choice would be Richard Linklater, Boyhood, one of many nominations that I'm going to be, like, supporting throughout, because it is the best film made in the last decade. So
interesting, right?
But it's
I need to make a disclaimer and say that I haven't actually seen it yet. I'm going to tomorrow, so no spoilers for that, please.
Well, it's not really a film you can spoil, because it's like the whole film is about the passage of time rather than like a plot point. Because I think it's quite spoiled that he doesn't die in it.
Right. Okay.
But if anyone doesn't know, it was filmed over 12 years and basically shows boyhood as such, but it shows motherhood, fatherhood, sisterhood. It's like the whole family.
Right.
It's really great. But for directing, it was a hell of a commitment to direct something for 12 years, and to remain consistently the same tone throughout the whole film. So that's what I think is a
difficult job to do,
because it's such a hard thing. 12 years they shot. It was 45 days over 12 years, but it's just such like a strong director that needed to do that. And I think he managed.
And a very patient one as well. I think, to be on a project for 12 years, I think you needed a cast that believed, and producers and a distribution company that believed in what the director was bringing to it, because that's a massive commitment, I believe. But saying that, I mean, obviously you're picking Boyhood, I'm picking Grand Budapest Hotel, but Birdman, Foxcatcher, and The Imitation Game, I think them three are very strong films in their own right. But Wes Anderson, like I said, for me was the one that I would pick.
Yeah, well, going back to Boyhood, like, directing the characters for over 12 years was a hell of a thing as well, because and also, like, the plot evolved as the years went on, like taking influences from Ethan Hawke, who plays the father, from his father things, because it very much includes what's in their personal lives in the real film.
Right. Okay.
And so then, like, the storyline changed throughout very slightly, but it was like manipulated over the years. It wasn't like X year we're filming X thing. It changed, and to manage to produce such a well like piece together for something that changed so much over that period of time was a hell of a directing job, and I think he's done very well.
You've definitely sold me on it. I think I need to say it now.
So the next category, we've got cinematography. Do you want to run through the
Yep,
nominations?
cinematography, we have Birdman, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Ida, Mr. Turner, and Unbroken.
I I think the one that like massively pops out for this and probably for everyone is going to be Birdman
Birdman, definitely, yeah.
because for the near one continuous shot was impressive to say the least.
Yeah, the thing with Birdman is that I thought it would be a bit like Gravity, where it was the first opening shot, maybe 15, 20 minutes, looks like one take, everyone's happy, then you just go into the normal filmmaking regime. But no, this film's special in its cinematography, where the whole film is shot from beginning to end to make it look like it's taken place within, well, one time frame, throughout one evening. I think that's an incredible job that they've done.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Like so much planning must have gone into that for every single
Yeah.
shot that was there, and
Yeah.
and the cuts like you can work them out where they are, but if you're not focusing on that, it flows so naturally as a
Yeah.
film.
It does, and to get it's something I don't think people take into account, but to get the lighting and the sound and everything together for that to work and for that to seem like it's a seamless transition, I think it's a massive accomplishment. I mean, going back to the Grand Budapest Hotel, that's shot in such a way where the film takes place over 3 time periods, and the ratio of the film changes throughout the 3 time periods in the way that it was meant to look like it was meant to be shot in that time frame, which I thought was a pretty cool technique. But compared to what Birdman achieved, I don't think it's anywhere near as much of an accomplishment. And Mr. Turner's a beautiful looking film, but again, Birdman takes it hands down for me. I don't even think that's much of a competition.
Yeah, I think that's the same as me. But obviously, the cinematography in Birdman goes hand in hand with the editing very much and the way they shot it. So we'll go on to editing later on, but I really think those two awards go hand in hand, especially this year with that film.
Yeah, seamless.
So the next category is we're going a bit onto the weirder ones now and the lesser known ones. So it's costume design. So for this, we've got the Grand Budapest Hotel again, Inherent Vice, which isn't out in the UK yet, so neither of us have seen it. Into the Woods, Maleficent, which was quite an interesting choice, and Mr. Turner. So what are your thoughts?
It's a very strange collection of films. You look at them like you got Maleficent and Into the Woods compared to the likes of Grand Budapest Hotel, Mr. Turner, and Inherent Vice. I don't really understand why some of them are in there. I mean, Maleficent, okay, yeah, maybe they spent a bit of time on wardrobe and that's what made the film, but is it an Oscar-worthy collection of costume design? I mean, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, I don't know. I mean, for me, the Grand Budapest Hotel takes that, I think, just because that's part of bringing the characters to life. You're creating these quirky, kind of strange characters. In order to bring them to life, you need to make small changes to the costumes to make them, suit the characters. And then maybe Grand Budapest Hotel or Mr. Turner, because I think that was a period piece that done very well in capturing its time period, so it wouldn't surprise me if Mr. Turner took it. Inherent Vice, like you said, we can't talk about it. We haven't seen it yet, so it'd be unfair to talk about that. And Into the Woods and Maleficent, I think, are there just because they're, I don't know, it seems like a simple choice because, they're fantasy films and they take a lot of effort. And, credit to the designers, they've obviously done a good job, but I'm not too sure if it's Oscar caliber, in my opinion.
I think it would have been great to see Guardians in this because the costumes throughout remains futuristic, stand out from the rest of the Marvel universe. But I think that deserves to be in there above those other films that are there at the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, what would your predictions be on who would take that one?
Grand Budapest Hotel, I think it's going to take that easily. But
yeah, for me, Grand Budapest or Mr. Turner, I think.
Yeah, especially because it's a period piece. The Oscars love their period pieces, don't they?
Yeah, it's an important aspect though, in bringing the world to life. So
if you mess that up, you've messed the whole film up.
If you mess it up, then the internet goes crazy, and I'll let you know.
So the next category is original screenplay, and you can handle these names.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to read the names or just the films?
It would be.
No, we'll go for a bit of banter. We'll go for the names. Okay.
For the comedy value.
Okay. Right. For the original screenplay, we have Birdman, Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, Nicholas Giabone. Oh no, you know what? I'm not even gonna go for it. You got Birdman, Boyhood, Foxcatcher, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Nightcrawler.
It's nice to see Nightcrawler get a nod.
Yes. Yeah. Even if it is one or two. Yeah. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later on, I think.
And obviously for me, it's going to be Boyhood of Richard Linklater is quite high up on there because it really is good. And like I said before, it develops over 12 years, and to hold a screenplay together over that period of time is very impressive again.
And but going on what you said earlier, I mean, if they developed it as they were going along, I mean, it takes someone brave to make changes to the script, but make it, make the narrative make sense at the same time. And if they pulled that off, then all more credit to Richard Linklater. For me, again, Grand Budapest Hotel was a great screenplay. Birdman was fantastic 'cause it made digs at the industry itself in modern age, and I think that's great. Nightcrawler I haven't seen, but it's one that I'm dying to see. And same with Foxcatcher. But for me, I think I'm going to go with Boyhood. It's going to sound strange because I haven't seen it. But again, to tell a story that's connected with so many people, I think that's the hardest thing to do as a screenwriter, is to create something that feels authentic and real. And I'm going off presumptions here. But I think if that's had the effect it's intended to have, then all the more credit to it.
Yeah. So the next category, we've got adapted screenplay. So for this, the names are much easier. So I'll try and pronounce them.
Those, yeah.
So we've got Jason Hull with American Sniper, Graham Moore with The Imitation Game, Anthony McCartin with The Theory of Everything, Paul Thomas Anderson with Inherent Vice, which again we haven't seen, and Damien. The thing that's jumping out to me first is Whiplash.
Yeah, that's something that I'm glad it's getting credit for. Really, I mean, the buzz that it's getting, I think it's well deserved, and we like surprises. We like good surprises with the Oscars. I mean, we get enough negative ones. It's nice to see that in there. The one that jumps out to me is Paul Thomas Anderson. I haven't seen Inherent Vice, but he's one of my favourite filmmakers out there, and he writes incredible screenplays. There Will Be Blood is one of my favourite films of all time. So I'm glad he's getting a nomination. Then again, I haven't seen the film, so I can't say I hope he wins. Yeah, American Sniper, I've heard a lot of good press about that over this end of the pond, but I know Americans are kind of 50-50 about it. And The Theory of Everything is one that I want to see, but I'm pleased that they finally managed to do something real and, noteworthy with Stephen Hawking, because he's a gentleman that I've met before, and I just like chucking it out there. That's my way of bringing it. And if the hardest thing about writing a screenplay about a real person is making it real, and the fact that he cried after seeing this film, I think, something that needs to be noted. So I don't know who I picked to win that one. I think Whiplash maybe would be one of the favourites, because the other four, I don't think I've heard as much about the screenplay as I have Whiplash. So I'll pick Whiplash for that one.
We were saying about bringing the person to life. American Sniper, I think that's where it struggled, because there's a big press thing. Basically, the director met with the sniper's family, because obviously it's based on a true story. And the dad said if you mess it up, like, he's going to batter him. I think it was along those lines. So I really think like they played super safe with that, because in the book apparently it goes into some really dark places about himself and PTSD, which hasn't gone within the film. So I think they've played a bit too safe with that screenplay.
Yeah, they've tried telling the story that he wants to be told, not the real story, which I think's a shame. I mean, the box office are doing extremely well at the moment, so that's obviously not affecting the audience. But in terms of, I don't know, screenplay, I don't think it's right to tell a true story in such a way where it's just no longer a true story, to be honest.
Yeah, but like I said, I think they did that because of the box office, not want to take any big risks, which is kind of a shame. Like, the Oscars do sometimes play to the people who don't take big risks, and I think this is where it's fallen into. So the next category, we have Best Animated Feature, which is missing one big film. So
it is. I'll read the list out, and then we'll go straight into the massive, elephant in the room. We have Big Hero 6, The Box Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Songs of the Sea, and The Tale of Princess Kaguya.
And it doesn't have
the Lego Movie, which I don't think we should even talk about the films that are on there, because not all of them are fantastic. I mean, you got some good films that are good for animation's sake, but the Lego Movie was just a great all-rounder. It's very hard to please adults and kids alike, and I think the Lego Movie did that. It made animation cool again. it showed that you don't have to have all these heartfelt moments to, all these tear-jerking moments, although it did have those towards the end. I think it just showed that animation can be just fun for, for all ages.
Well, even technically in that film, it had the thing where it was done like CGI and stuff,
Yeah.
animated, but it was made to look stop motion, which looks
Exactly,
amazing.
yeah. So I don't understand how you can be missing that out on the list, but that's just me.
It does, however, have the best response for not getting a nomination. Did you see the picture that was tweeted
Yeah.
out by the director?
No.
It basically it was a Lego Oscar. It said, "Oh, I've already got one."
All
It
right.
came out, so
That's the best way to do it, is not take it seriously and just kind of have fun. Which that's what the film did. It didn't take itself seriously. It had fun. It just gave you the film and said, "This is what it is. Take it or leave it." And I think most people took to it, didn't they? So, and that's a big one for me. Very upset about that.
and is there any there that you want to win or not much tension?
I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but was The Box Trolls a British film? I mean, I could be wrong with that one.
It wasn't very good, I'll tell you that.
Right, okay. I mean, I always like seeing British films when if it was a British film, but not for the sake of it. I mean, I haven't heard very good things about it. How to Train Your Dragon 2 was good, but it was what you expected it to be. Big Hero 6 I haven't seen yet, and I haven't seen Songs of the Sea or The Tale of Princess Kaguya, but I don't know.
Well, again, Big Hero 6 is not in the UK because we get ruined on some of these films by not releasing till late January.
Yeah, so there's not really much we can talk about there, is there, other than the fact that the Lego Movie got ill-treated, we'll say. Ill-treated.
So next up we have makeup and hairstyling, which is a very short category of numbers. We've got Foxcatcher, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and Guardians of the Galaxy. So what's jumping out from those three?
Well, what's jumping out from those three is the fact those three isn't those five. Like, I don't understand how you can have those three there and miss out on other films. I mean, we were talking earlier about what was it, costume design, and you had Inherent Vice, Into the Woods, Maleficent, and Mr. Turner, which aren't on these this category, but you've got Foxcatcher and Guardians of the Galaxy. Sorry, sorry about that. And Grand Budapest Hotel. I don't understand why you've got three and not five. I mean, obviously with Best Animated Feature, you've made up the numbers. So why don't you do it for two more films that have done well in that category? In those categories, I mean, Foxcatcher, Grand Budapest Hotel, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know.
Well, the only reason why Foxcatcher's in there is, well, I believe it's in there, is because of Steve Carell's makeup. So that seems quite heavy on one character. Grand Budapest Hotel is obviously a very Wes Anderson film, so it's bound to have makeup and hairstyling. In Guardians of the Galaxy, like, I kind of get the makeup, but I would, like earlier on, it should have gone hand in hand with costume. The same with like Maleficent. Like if Maleficent got nominated for costume, I think it's very like reliant on makeup.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So for that sake, I mean, for that exact reason, I'm just going to pick the Grand Budapest Hotel just because I picked it for the costume design, and like I don't know, but it just seems all over the place. It's like they've just put some names in a hat, picked out three they liked, and there you go, have an award or have a nomination.
Yeah, that definitely is one of the weakest categories in terms of choice-wise and why they've done it. But
it's a shame for the winner as well. I mean, they probably don't care if they're standing up there and collecting their Oscar, but to only have two more competitors, it kind of makes your category feel like it's worthless, I think.
Yeah, especially.
But I don't know, I think that's one that needs looking at and certainly needs questioning why they've only got three nominations. But next up, we do have a category that's always nice to talk about. You always have a few surprises in there. We have Best Visual Effects, and for nominations, we have Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Guardians of the Galaxy, Interstellar, X-Men: Days of Future Past. Which one's your pick for that one?
Well, if anyone knows me, I think it's going to be quite obvious again. Interstellar.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you saw that at the IMAX, and seeing that giant wave that you see in all the trailers and stuff.
Yeah.
That massive screen was amazing, and also the fact it was visual effects. It was mainly like actual visual and stuff there, which they've enhanced, which is great to see in this day and age.
Yeah.
Like Christopher Nolan's always been a big preacher of practical effects and basically adding upon them, rather than just making them out of nothing. So for that, I would say Interstellar. But obviously, you've got Guardians of the Galaxy, which sets a world up amazingly around it. Like, you don't question that it's all visual effects because it fits in so naturally.
Yeah.
X-Men's kind of good, but it was a bit over the top on the sci-fi effects for me.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you have Dawn of Planet of the Apes, which is a bit of a weird one. Like, the effects fit in so well, you kind of forget how much work they put in because it looks like real apes and stuff.
I mean, going off what you said for Interstellar, it's great that they've managed to still bring practical effects but enhance them, like you said, and that's what Chris Nolan is great at, what you say yourself, preaching, and he's good at putting it off with his team. But for me, I don't think you can look past Dawn of the Planet of the Apes because you had men playing apes and they digitally replaced, it was motion capture. But they were character performers, and these men literally played the apes up until the point where they just got their face replaced pretty much, but every expression, every movement, and to see how these apes came alive, I mean, the detail's incredible. Like, every inch of hair is just immaculate, and for me, I don't think I'll be picking any film over that. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, Interstellar, they're both films that set up these different worlds, incredibly well, but both in different ways. Winter Soldier, going off what you said, it's great to see. I know they released a lot of promo stuff to show how they created all these vehicles and aircrafts, etc. And it's great to see how much detail they put into that, even to the little things in the background. I think that's incredible to see. And X-Men: Days of Future Past, I kind of feel like if any of them do it, it's X-Men: Days of Future Past that kind of show these are special effects. This is what we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
Your face. So for me, I mean, I'm going to pick Dawn of the Planet of the Apes just because I think it's an incredible achievement in visual effects.
I do think one that stands out the most is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, because if someone asked you without watching those featurettes, is it really good for visual effects? You'll say, well, it's all good apart from the ships at the end, which is where it stands out. But I think they could have done like the majority of that stuff practically till the end.
Especially because there's so much human, and character building moments throughout the film that you're right up until the. No spoilers, but the big sequence at the end, I mean, a lot of it was practical effects, so it's interesting to see that one up there. But I know Transformers went for it. They tried to push themselves. I
saw the website for that.
Yeah, not only was it the worst of the 4 films, but it was just lazy. I mean, there were frames missing in that and everything. Let's just not talk about that one. So I'm glad that one didn't get a nod. Well,
they were going for Best Picture with Transformers as well, if it under the wanted categories.
Yeah, that's what I love about Paramount. They're good at having a sense of humour, aren't they?
Great ambition.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's it for visual effects. I mean, my choice, like I said, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and yours was Interstellar, I believe.
Yep, so it'd be really nice to see those two go against each other. Yeah. So next up we got Best Film Editing. So we've got American Sniper, Boyhood, Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, and Whiplash. So the two that I think will be going for it will be American Sniper and Boyhood, because American Sniper, the trailer for that is so intense to see in a cinema.
The trailer itself, wasn't it? The trailer itself was just intense.
Yeah, like even with a massive bass, like Inception buzzes at the end.
Yeah,
heartbeat. And then you got Boyhood, which is very different. Like American Sniper, the editing's very prominent in it. But Boyhood, you don't notice the editing. It's really good because it, like I said before, it's over 12 years, but you don't see the years cut straight away. It's very clever in how they edit it, so you only realise like two different scenes that, like it flows so well for such a long film of nearly 3 hours length. It flows really well. So anything sticks out for you, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about the Grand Budapest Hotel quite a lot, but for me, that editing was almost too in your face. In parts, it was too out there and too wacky that it just felt like it was trying a bit too hard. So I wouldn't say for film editing that necessarily came off as well as what you're saying Boyhood managed to achieve. Whiplash, again, I'm glad of that, got a nomination. And The Imitation Game and American Sniper I can't really talk about. But for me, I think the favourites to win it would be, I think it would have to be Boyhood. I mean, to make that transition from, a film that literally was shot, a scene was shot literally like a year or so beforehand, to make that seem seamless, I think is an achievement in itself. But yeah, unfortunately, the Grand Budapest Hotel, that was one of its weakest areas for me personally.
See, what's missing out for me is Birdman. Like I said before, those two awards kind of go in hand in hand.
Yeah.
Like the editing isn't full on like great cut because obviously there's no cuts.
Hmm.
But the way it edits so seamlessly in the one continuous shot, I think really it deserves a nomination by itself just on those seamless things.
Yeah, maybe that's what went against it, is the fact that it was more focused on the cinematography, that the old men at the Oscars were sat there thinking, by gosh, this is all one take, what an incredible achievement in cinematography, there's no editor on board, or something like that, I don't know. But you're right, I mean, if you're going to give an award for best picture and best, well, pretty much best everything else, then why not best editing? It doesn't really make sense to me. So that's certainly one that's missing.
Yeah, the other one I think's missing as well is it's a bit of an out one there, but again, Interstellar is so like dramatic in its cut and stuff. It's so intense at the times. Like when it's taking off, it's just in your face. The editing, bang, bang, bang. I think that's missing there. But obviously, it was never going to be an Oscar film because they don't really like those full-on, over-the-top kind of films. But it would have been great to have seen that for editing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of a film that should have necessarily replaced any of those. I mean, I understand what you're saying about Interstellar, but it did pick up a best sound mixing and best sound nomination, which we'll talk about in a second. But if anything, I think an editor needs to understand the style and the pacing and the movement of the film and understand how everything's going along. And for me, one of the films that done that best this year was The Guest. And I know I talk about that quite a lot. And it was never going to be a film that received an Academy Award nomination. But I think that's just a film that I need to talk about, and you guys need to check out, I think, because that's an incredible film, especially for editing. Its achievements are incredible.
So next up we have sound mixing. So do you want to take us through those?
Yeah, for sound mixing we have American Sniper, Birdman, Interstellar, Unbroken, and Whiplash. So pretty much a similar category to the film editing, only Unbroken takes the place of Boyhood. Is there everything else? Oh, and Birdman's there. Anyway, but the point is, yeah, Unbroken and Birdman are there, but they weren't in the best film editing. For me, Birdman's, like we were just talking about, is an incredible achievement in just filmmaking in general. But the sound mixing and the sound design in that film did throw me off a little bit. That sometimes I don't think it quite fit the pacing and the movement of the film. I did notice the sound design in parts. But that said, I mean, Interstellar, I had a massive problem with the sound mixing in that when I first saw it.
See, I think the whole thing about Interstellar in this category, people are going to either think it deserves it or not. It was such a bold choice to make the decision that was apparently made. I say apparently very poor. Yeah. Because whether the music was going to be louder than the volume, or the dialogue is apparently it was done on purpose, but it's all a bit iffy.
That will always, I think, be a subject we'll never really know the answer to. But if it was intentional, then it's certainly the boldest of the 5 films that have been nominated there, isn't it? I mean, it certainly tried to be audacious, and it certainly tried to be something different. And if it was the intention, maybe it wasn't pulled off to the effect that Chris Nolan and Hans Zimmer's team wanted it to be. But it certainly had an effect, whether you liked it or not. It certainly added something, whether it was annoyance to the film, it's up to you. But it certainly added something to the film. Whereas Birdman, sometimes it did just feel a little bit flat, and the rhythm just felt a bit repetitive at times. So yeah, I mean, Whiplash. What do you think about the sound mixing for Whiplash?
It's really good. Like, I saw it in a theatre yesterday. It was a Picture House in Liverpool, and it was so loud. It was so good because you really like the drums sound amazing. But again, sound mixing is a weird thing because whether it fits or whether it stands out is two different things. Whether it deserves an Oscar for it, because it really fitted in, but it needed it to make that film. Because if it didn't mix right, basically the whole film's about drumming, and it wouldn't make any sense at all, really.
Right.
So I think it was crucial, but I wouldn't say it really stood out personally. But
so I mean, Interstellar, it wouldn't surprise me if it won, but it wouldn't surprise me if it came bottom of the polls. It's definitely one of those hit or miss situations. But if it won, I'll be pleased for it. It is definitely something I need to check out again because when I watched it on the IMAX and the surround sound, it did throw me off first of all, but that could be because I wasn't expecting those scenes. I wasn't expecting those moments. I was expecting to hear clear dialogue like you normally do in a film. But for better or worse, it was certainly, like we said, a bold choice, and it's certainly the one that stands out amongst the five.
So next up, we've got Best Supporting Actress. So we got Patricia Arquette, which is for Boyhood, Keira Knightley for The Imitation Game, Emma Stone for Birdman, Meryl Streep for Into the Woods, and Lauren Dern for Wild. For me, this is a one-horse category. It's going to be Boyhood. Obviously, it's going to be Boyhood, but yeah. I think the other four are just quite weak for that category.
Right. Okay.
Like Emma Stone, stood out in like she was good in Birdman, but I wasn't walking out going, "Oh, she did really good in that film."
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Patricia Arquette, which again, it was over 12 years, and to keep up and change as much as that character did without being a different character was just amazing to watch. But what do you think?
Two things really annoy me about this category. Okay, and Boyhood is going to win this hands down. Like Patricia Arquette, she's going to win. I think she can start writing her speech now. I think that's pretty much down. But Emma Stone was not great in Birdman. Like she was flat. I think. I didn't. She annoyed me. She frustrated me. I think that mainly that's probably because it was very much a character central piece, and compared to the likes of Edward Norton, in particular, when every scene that he was in with her, he just completely outstaged her.
Yeah,
and Michael Keaton as well. Maybe it's because them two are so fantastic in Birdman, but she just seemed a little under par for me. And Meryl Streep does not deserve a nomination for Into the Woods. I'm sorry. I mean, the Academy may love her, but it's getting embarrassing now. Like, why is she up there? Why? Answer me, Callum. Why is she up there?
I don't know. Like you said, like the Academy Awards love her, and like the only thing she'd probably be in is movie 43, and they wouldn't nominate her. I think that's the only film she could be in, and they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. And Laura Dern and Keira Knightley. I mean, Keira Knightley, I think that's a safe choice. I mean, it's Keira Knightley in a kind of a period piece. That's always going to go down well, I think. But Laura Dern, I can't talk about because I haven't seen Wild yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, again, that was only released here, I think, yesterday. So
yeah. But no, Meryl Streep and Emma Stone. I mean, I normally love Emma Stone. I mean, I even liked her in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and there's not much to like about that film. But no, I mean, no, she don't deserve. They don't deserve to be there. That category annoyed me. Let's move on.
It's definitely Boyhood for that category.
Yeah, hands down. Yeah.
So next up, we've got Best Supporting Actor.
Yes, we have Robert Duvall in The Judge, Ethan Hawke in Boyhood, Edward Norton in Birdman, Mark Ruffalo in Foxcatcher, and J.K. Simmons in Whiplash.
Now this is a very strong category. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, really, except for maybe Robert Duvall, because, I mean, he was without that the best part about The Judge, and he definitely upstaged Robert Downey Jr., but the film itself wasn't certainly of the Oscar caliber you'd expect, but Robert Duvall was good in it, so there's no surprises there. Ethan Hawke, I'll let you talk about him in a minute because I know that's definitely your pick. Mark Ruffalo in Foxcatcher, which I haven't seen yet, so I can't really talk about. And J.K. Simmons, I know he's a very strong contender, but for me it would be Edward Norton, just because his performance, it made me like him again. Let's put it that way. He outstages anyone other than Michael Keaton. Him and Emma Stone, although she was pretty fat, like I said, he was incredible in those scenes, and he was hilarious as well. He brought the comic relief in that film. It was seamless, and I don't think many people could make an attempted rape scene funny, and I know it's not something that should be funny, but it's certainly that scene was approached in the right way, and he was hilarious in that scene. So for me, it would be Edward Norton, but I haven't seen Whiplash or Boyhood, so I know them two are going to be the top two contenders.
See, for me, it's between three: J.K. Simmons, Edward Norton, and Ethan Hawke. The reason why Ethan Hawke doesn't stand out for me, even though he's an amazing actor, is because he fits into that role so well in Boyhood.
Right. Okay.
And like the whole of that cast in that film's great, but because he fits in so well in that whole world and universe, into that family setup, you don't come out thinking, oh wow, great performance, because that whole film is about being like real, like seeing people age and being real. so there's no over the top performances in there.
Right.
So I think for a not over the top film, it's quite hard to get an Oscar worthy performance out of it.
Yeah.
Then you got
So he carries it in quite a subtle way.
Yeah, he fits in perfectly. Literally does the job great, but it's because it's not an over the top film, unlike Whiplash and Birdman, which are very over the top and cinematic. J.K. Simmons in Whiplash made that film.
Right. Yeah.
Like
you can tell about the trailer, though, can't you? The trailer was intense itself. Like
it's such a good film, and it literally he's so strong, and that character you hate him so much, which is what you need for a film to feel so passionate about that character.
Right.
Mark Ruffalo in Foxcatcher, it was alright.
Yeah.
It's a good film, but I think when you're going up against Steve Carell into that film as supporting actor, I think he should have been up there instead of Mark Ruffalo personally, because it's such a full-on.
Well, he's nominated for Best Actor, so maybe they got that a little bit wrong. Maybe Steve Carell wasn't even a best best actor. He should have been Best Supporting, but
yeah, definitely, because the film isn't about him. The film's about Tatum's character, which name's forgotten me. For me, it's his story and it's his screenplay. He wrote the screenplay, so everything's told from his point of view.
Yeah.
So I think they've got that wrong. And obviously Edward Norton in Birdman, just like Michael Keaton, it's a parody of their own life within the film.
And he does it so well, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he's known of being such a diva on set, which is what he does in the film. So I think for that, it's a very good character piece. So I cannot tell between Boyhood, Birdman, and Whiplash in that category. It's the tightest one for me.
But it's always good to have a tight category, isn't it? When you kind of agree with most of them, it's always a good, category. But anyway, moving on to the Best Actress nominations, we have Felicity Jones in A Theory of Everything, Julianne Moore, Still Alice, Rosamund Pike, Gone Girl, Reese Witherspoon in Wild, and Marion Cotillard for 2 Days, One Night. For me, this is a hands down. She's not going to win, but she should do, and that's Rosamund Pike. I mean, she bought it, and she brought it. I bought it. She.
100% agree.
But no, she's incredible, isn't she? She's hilarious. She's evil. She's scary. She's beautiful, which doesn't hurt. I mean, she's just everything you want in a leading lady. And I mean, Felicity Jones, for what I understand, she's the favourite to win at the moment. And Julianne Moore won at the Golden Globes, didn't she? For Still Alice? I could be wrong. She won something.
Actually, yeah.
But no, for me, this is a hands down Rosamund Pike. I mean, it's a shame if the film's got been forgotten already because it was released quite early. But that one should be hers without doubt.
Yeah, Gone Girl was so good to see in the Oscars because I wasn't expecting it because it was released so long ago.
Yeah. And
there wasn't that much buzz up to it. But she plays such a strong female character in that film, and so many depths in that character. You see how messed up she is without spoiling the film.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think Gone Girl should win it, but they're not because it's such a out of the wild kind of thing. So it's a shame if it doesn't win, but it the way the Oscars are going, it's going to be The Theory of Everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Reese Witherspoon kind of done what great leading ladies and leading men do, and that's carry a film. I mean, I haven't, because I don't think Wild's released yet, is it? Or is it? I'm not too sure.
Only just, yes.
Right, in which case, I've obviously had a chance to see it, but good on her for carrying that film. It wouldn't be surprised to me if she received quite a lot of love for that. And like I said, Julianne Moore's been getting quite a lot of steam recently. It's surprising to see Marion Cotillard there with a nomination for a film that I've never heard of. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, might get a lot of hate for not hearing of that film. Maybe it's really popular, I don't know. But that's a surprising one. But I don't think she's a favourite because I haven't heard much attention being given to her. But my personal choice would be Rosamund Pike. But my guess would be Felicity Jones.
Yep. So next up, we've got Best Actor. So we've got Steve Carell for Foxcatcher, Bradley Cooper for American Sniper, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Imitation Game, Michael Keaton for Birdman, and Eddie Raymond for the Theory of Everything. For me, that is such a predictable category for all the nominations in there.
Yeah.
Apart from Steve Carell, which he should have been in a supporting actor by far in that category. So what are you thinking?
I mean, you can tell by my little horse sigh that it's a tough category, and I think I'm not too sure if it's for the right reasons. I mean, Michael Keaton for me was the one that stood out when I was watching it. I was like, this guy is absolutely killing it. There's so much range going on there that, but it still maintains the tone of the film. He's never overacting, which is great.
Well, it's such a character piece, that film. Like, that film is about Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
And I don't think, like, with hardly any other actors, that film could have worked.
Yeah.
Like, all the others, I could have seen someone else taking over.
Yeah.
And well, apart from Eddie Raymond, I think. But
yeah.
But the other three, I reckon, could have been any actor.
Yeah, I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch, I mean, I'm glad he's getting some Hollywood attention now because he deserves it. He's a fantastic actor, but I'm not sure if the Imitation Games, Imitation Games, his best work. So I am a little bit surprised that he got nominated for that film, but I'm not surprised that he got nominated because it was only a matter of time. Bradley Cooper in American Sniper, to me, by what I've seen, looks like Bradley Cooper in American Sniper. And Steve Carell, he did transform for the role in Foxcatcher, but Eddie Redmayne, part of me hopes that he gets this because he done such a terrific job in bringing that character to life, a real character to life, and a very physical transformation as well. Like, he didn't just have prosthetic makeup, and he didn't, just have to put on an accent or anything. He brought Stephen Hawking to life in such a way that, I hope the young lad gets it. I say young lad, he's older than me, but I hope, he's still a relative newcomer, isn't he, in this business. So I hope he gets a lot of love for what he's done.
Yeah, so I totally agree with everything you said there. It's a very, like, anyone could win that category. Anyone, I think, could easily. So, but Michael Keaton for me is who should have that. So next up we got Best Picture, which is the big one, which is the massive one. So we have 8 films to this. We have American Sniper, Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, Selma, The Theory of Everything, and Whiplash. So which one stands out for you?
Well, what stands out to me is the fact that there are 8 nominations and not 10. I mean, like we talked about earlier, we've seen some things nominated just to make up the numbers, so it doesn't make sense not to have a couple of films that do deserve their place there, like maybe even Nightcrawler, just to give Gyllenhaal some love, I think. I mean, I don't know. To me, there's a couple of films that won't get a look in, which would be American Sniper.
Agreed.
The Imitation Game, I don't think it's got a chance of winning. Selma, unfortunately, I don't think it's got enough steam leading into the Oscars, although I've heard great things about it. And The Theory of Everything, I don't think has enough.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for it to do well. So for me, it's between Whiplash, Boyhood, and Birdman, and I missed out the Grand Budapest Hotel because that's the one I'd love to see. That's just for me a film that completely was not expecting to love. So between that and Birdman, I'd love to see, but it's hard to call, isn't it?
It's very hard to call. Well, it's very different films that are in there. Like, you've got the art piece of Birdman, then you've got the all-out American Sniper.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the indie, like, Boyhood. It's all, like, very mixed bunch.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, if Birdman, Boyhood, or Whiplash win, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Whiplash, I know he's not getting much attention leading into it from the people that matter in the Oscars, unfortunately. But I know it's been well received by critics and the audience, so maybe that'll go towards it. But I think if you're talking just achievements in filmmaking, then Boyhood's got to be the strongest one there, surely. I mean, Birdman's done a fantastic job. I don't know. I mean, I change my mind every time I read out the list. I think Boyhood would win, but my heart's telling me Birdman to win. If that makes sense. There you go. I want Birdman, but Boyhood will win. There you go.
Well, I think Boyhood should win. Like, I've said throughout this whole podcast, it should be Boyhood for most of them, but it's such a perfect film as a condensed thing. Like in cinema, like that film's go down in history. Like 50 years time, there'll be film students talking about how that was the first film to do that over that period of time. But then we got Birdman, which I watched a second time yesterday, and it's a very arty piece of cinema.
Yeah.
And it's made to be an Oscar film, very obviously. But I just don't think it's got any legs to Boyhood. It's such a feat of a film. Everything else that's there is very safe. Like Whiplash is very good, but I don't think it will win just because it's a kind of one viewing experience kind of film for me.
Right. Okay.
Like I love the experience of going through it, but there's not that many levels to it to rewatch again. Unlike Boyhood, which I've seen 3 times in cinema now, and you see there's about 4 massive characters that develop throughout. You can follow their journey throughout that film and see how much they change.
Yeah.
The Imitation Game again is quite safe. Selma is quite safe. So it'll be Boyhood or Birdman for me.
Yeah.
Birdman because it was made to be an Oscar film.
Right.
Let's be honest. And then Boyhood because it's an amazing feat. And I think there's timings. These films kind of tell you which ones were made for Oscars. Like you have Birdman, American Sniper, The Imitation Game kind of came out about 2 months ago. Then you have Boyhood and The Grand Budapest Hotel that came out over half a year ago.
Yeah.
And they're the most true cinematic films for cinema, that weren't made for Oscars. So it's nice to see those being recognised.
Yeah. I mean, The Grand Budapest Hotel, I think, is certainly the most out there choice in terms of it's so stylized and kind of so unique that I'm really pleased that it got an Oscar nod, and it's certainly one of my favourites in this category. But I don't think I wouldn't put my money on it. Put it that way. I don't think it's what the Oscar loves. The Oscar loves, real filmmaking, raw kind of storytelling. I think that's what Birdman and Boyhood bring. So I agree with you. I think it's between those two. I do have one interesting question for you. Are there any films in any of the categories well, not even in any of the categories, but any film that you've seen in the last year that you're surprised didn't make it in one of the categories at all, or any film that you'd like to put in?
I think I've done a really good job of covering all the bases this year.
Yeah, less controversy than most years, really.
Because you have the Interstellar, and then you have the Boyhood, then you have the Birdman. They're so the range of films this year is really great to see they're including it. Maybe not in the right categories, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But they're there somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see, like we talked about, the Lego Movie and The Guest just get something, because that film just needs some love, and I recommend anyone go out and pick up the DVD or find a site that's, legal and showing it. So, no, that's just a film that I think deserves some love, but, you're right. I mean, I think they've done some safe choices, but some good choices in most categories, really, with the exception of the Lego Movie.
So overall, I think Boyhood's gonna sweep up the awards, and if they don't, it'll be Birdman taking the awards that Boyhood should have won.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Agree, but I do hope that the best soundtrack goes to Interstellar, because that's something that isn't really being talked about at the minute, which definitely needs to be, because that soundtrack is incredible.